Liberal Democrats' plan to protect workers from sex harassment is to become law. I'm going to read into this more from the BBC, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from the BBC with the headline that Lib Dem's plans to protect workers from sexual harassment is to become law. Workers are set to get more protections from sexual harassment in the workplace after MPs approved a new law. So, what's my thoughts on sexual harassment in the workplace? Well, it's pretty simple. We live in a day and age where you're supposed to treat people as equals, and sexual harassment is, pretty damn disgusting, especially in a workplace. Is it strong enough? Is the question I think people need to ask yourself. I think you need to ask yourself: Are businesses, our companies, are they doing enough to protect women? Majority of cases are women. There are obviously cases of men. Obviously, we have to remember that. But it is mainly women. Is the laws that are in place doing enough to protect them? Like, are the punishments severe enough for those who are sexually harassing others? And that's the question we need to ask ourselves, isn't it? Is it doing enough? And my honest answer is no. People need to respect other people's boundaries, and there is a line. And if you're not careful, that line, it can really hurt someone. There is a line, and but I think the law does need to be increased, because I think the problem is that we have a lot of workplaces where it happens, and people kind of just get away with it, sort of thing. Like, nothing really comes of it. Or if they do speak out, they don't want to make a big hissy fit about it, and what they normally do is pay them off and all that kind of stuff, and just like, sort of thing, dirty tactics kind of thing, just to kind of shove it under the carpet so nobody knows about it, sort of thing. Now, you really want to protect those who get sexually harassed, and I don't see a reason why we can't clamp down on this a bit more. And it's just a very simple case of you just don't need it, you know. There is a part of me that is afraid that there will be women that will take advantage of this law as well. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that there are cases out there where women can pretend and fake being sexually harassed, and could use this law to practically destroy a person. Now, there have been cases that this does happen, so there is that counterpart as well. So it's very important that evidence is provided whenever any kind of sexual harassments take place. It's really important that the evidence is put in front of them, rather than just taking word for word, sort of thing, is what I will say on that. But it's not sexual harassment is just not acceptable in any form, really, to be fair, guys. So workers are set to get more protections from sexual harassment in the workplace after MPs approved a new law. The Worker Protection Bill, introduced by Liberal Democrat MP Wera Hobhouse, puts a duty on bosses to stop harassment instead of relying on employers to report instances. However, the bill has been watered down after opposition in the House of Lords over concerns it could expose employers to costly lawsuits. That's the other thing, and they missed out the lawsuits. One Tory MP said it had been gutted. In order to get the bill through Parliament, Mrs Hobhouse and the government reached a compromise with peers to scrap a section in which made employers liable for harassment of their employers by third parties such as customers or suppliers. The wording of the proposed law was also changed. Initially, it would have required employers to take all reasonable steps to protect sexual harassment, but peers struck out the word all. Reasonable steps could include putting in place training and carry out impartial investigations into reported harassments. The bill also means there would be a 25% uplift to compensation for sexual harassment cases where an employer had failed to take the reasonable steps. When the alternative bill returned to the House and Commons on Friday, Mrs. Hobhouse told MPs, "I cannot stand here and say that I am completely happy with the amendments, but if I did not accept them, the bill would not progress into law, and that could be a lot worse. The longer it takes for legislation preventing sexual harassment to become a law, the more workers, especially women, would be left at risk of workplace sexual harassment, and that would simply not be acceptable." Conservative MP Daniel Kroger said he did not think the new law was needed. "I am happy that we've got a place where the bill has been effectively gutted by the lordships," he told MPs. "We need to stop bringing forward what I could call performative legislation, intending simply to outlaw behaviour that we disapprove of. Immoral conversations, bad managed actions likely to cause hurt and distress. We cannot legalise against all of these actions." Conservative Minister for Women Marina Crawford said there had been a strong level of concern about the proposed law, but added that the government had been eager to find a balance. She said she hoped the legislation would help prevent instances of sexual harassment in the future. During its passage through Parliament, the bill received cross-party support from MPs. However, it faced tough opposition from the House of Lords. Conservative Lord Hannan argued there was already perfectly good old common law provisions to protecting women against harassment at work. The Earl of Leicester said the bill could lead to customers having to agree to formal and binding HR-style rules when interacting with a business employee. The bill has now been approved in both the House of Commons and Lords, and will become law once it receives royal assent. So it's obviously going to take. It's going to get some amendments, obviously, from it. And I think what they're trying to do, those who are opposing to it, is not so much saying that they're not opposed to stopping sexual harassment. That's not the point. I think that they're trying to make. What they're trying to say is that they're trying to leave more of it down to the discretion of the employer. But I also think that there needs to be, while there is a law when it comes to harassment, is there one here specific, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there one there specific for sexual harassment? Like, are we really tough enough on sexual harassment, is the question we need to be asking ourselves. Are businesses tough enough on it? I think that's a rightful question. I think that's the right question we need to be asking of employers. So I will say that if this bill makes it more of a safe place, especially for women, then good. However, like I've said before, I am fearful of other factors, of course. But what do you guys honestly think about this? Do you have no issues with this whatsoever? Do you think it's just a simple case of people applying common sense, perhaps, instead of the case of, rather than having a law necessary in order to implement this? What do you guys honestly think about a sexual harassment law bill? Like, share and subscribe as always. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.